Good morning, students. Today we are going to begin with the third life process, that is transportation, after having discussed nutrition and respiration. Now, in this life process, first we must know what is the content. So first we are going to talk about transportation in human beings. So how the transportation happens? It is with the help of our pump, that is the heart. Then how the circulation happens in the heart, we talk about that. Then what is blood pressure? Then the different tubes, that is your blood vessels, which carry the fluid, body fluid, that is the blood. Then how the maintenance is happening in our body with the help of platelets. Then we talk in detail about the body fluid, that is your blood and lymph. Then we go to transportation in plants and how transport of water and food and other substances is taking place in the body of plants. We discuss about all these things in detail, one by one. So now, first we must know why this transportation process is required in our body. So the introductory part. We know that all living organisms are made up of cells, and in order to survive and maintain themselves, all cells require oxygen and nutrients. As they perform various metabolic activities, waste products are generated, and these harmful products, which are the waste products, are actually harmful for the body. So they have to be removed, as we know that accumulation of these substances will be very harmful for the body. So oxygen and nutrients are to be transported to the excretory tissues, and then this excretory tissues are going to remove it. Now in complex multicellular organisms, special organs are needed to pick up oxygen, food, water, etc. and carry them to their respective places. So the transport of these substances which is happening in the body is called as internal transport, and the organs which carry out this transport within the body constitute the internal transport system. So now let us talk about it in detail. First topic is transportation in human beings. How the transport happens in human beings. The main transport system in human beings is the circulatory system, and it consists of blood, arteries, veins, capillaries, and the main pumping organ, that is your heart. So what is the work of the blood? Blood is the main fluid in our body, which is, or we can say it is the medium which transports food, oxygen and waste products. And what is it made up of? It is made up of plasma and different kinds of cells, that is your blood cells, like your red blood cell, white blood cells and the platelets. Now plasma transports food, water and all kinds of waste products, that is carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste, etc. Red blood cells transport oxygen. White blood cells act as a soldier for the body and prevent it from microbes. And platelets help in the clotting of the blood, and they also prevent the loss of blood during injury. Now the vessels, that is your arteries, veins and capillaries, we talk about that. Arteries are the vessels which carry blood from the heart to all parts of the body, and they are thick-walled without valves. Veins carry the impure blood from all parts of the body back to the heart, and they are having valves, but they are thin-walled. And what about the capillaries? These are very, very narrow lumened vessels, that is, they have a very small diameter which connects the arteries and the veins together. And here what happens? exchange of food, water, oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and the cells takes place, it is actually through the capillaries. Now the next important part of the transportation system is your heart, the muscular pumping organ which pumps blood to all parts of our body. Now this human heart is shown over here, consists of 4 chambers as you can see. The upper chambers are called as the atria and the lower ones as the ventricles. Now since the ventricles pump the blood to different parts of the body, they have got walls which are thicker. The right and the left chambers are separated. The right and the left chambers are separated by a septum which prevents the mixing of blood. So you can see over here the auricles are separated, the ventricles are also separated. And between the auricles or the atrium and the ventricle, they have got valves in between. What is the role of the valves? The valves, they prevent the backflow of blood. That means once the blood comes into the ventricle, it cannot go back into the auricle. Now this is a very colorful diagram and the different tubes are shown in different colors and very well labeled. So that's why I have picked up this to explain the working of the heart, how the blood is pumped, how the blood flows through the heart and what internally how the heart is performing its activity. Now as you can see, first we talk about where is heart located. It is a hollow muscular pumping organ about the size of our fist. You all know the meaning of fist. When you put your fingers together and bring it close to the palm and make it tight, then what is formed is called as the fist. It lies obliquely in the thorax between the lungs and immediately above the diaphragm. Its lower part is conical, you can see, and slightly tilted towards the left. And it is enclosed in a bony cage formed of ribs, backbone and sternum bone. Now human heart is divided into the right and the left chambers as you can see. Each half consists of upper thin-walled atrium, which is also known as auricle. Atrium and auricle mean the same. And the lower comparatively thick-walled, that is the ventricle. Auricles are the receiving chambers and ventricles act as pumping chambers. Walls of auricle are thinner because they only have to receive the blood, while the walls of the ventricles are thicker because they have to pump the blood. 4 chambers of the heart are the left auricle, the right auricle, the left ventricle and the right ventricle. Auricles are externally demarcated from the ventricles by an irregular coronary sulcus, which is a groove. The ventricles are externally demarcated by an oblique groove, which is known as interventricular sulcus. Internally, the 2 auricles are separated by interauricular septum, and the ventricles are also separated internally by interventricular septum. Left auricle receives oxygenated blood from the lungs via pulmonary vein, as it is shown here in purple color. Right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from the upper and the lower parts of the body, that is via what is mentioned here as superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. After receiving the blood, auricles relax. So when they are relaxed, we say they are in a diastolic mode, diastolic condition. Next, both the auricles will contract. Auricles, when they contract, we say they are in a systolic condition. So blood from the left auricle passes into the left ventricle through an opening which is guarded by a valve, what we call as the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve, which is having two flaps, or we can say two cusps. Similarly, the blood from the right auricle is passed into the right ventricle. The opening is guarded by tricuspid valve. Yeah, three cusps are there. Then both the ventricles contract and both the bicuspid and the tricuspid valves close so that the blood cannot go back. Oxygenated blood from the left ventricle is passed to the body via aorta, as it is shown here in yellow, the largest artery, and the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle is passed to the lungs for oxygenation via pulmonary aorta or pulmonary artery, which later divides. Pulmonary aorta only divides into two, that is the right and the left pulmonary artery. Then at the base of each aorta and the pulmonary artery are present three semilunar valves which prevent the backflow of blood from the aorta. Now the separation of the right and the left sides of the heart is very much useful. What is the necessity? To keep the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood separate, that is, prevent them from mixing. And such a supply is useful for animals which have to use energy constantly to maintain their body temperature, as in case of, we can talk about the birds and the mammals. So those animals which do not require much of energy to maintain their body temperature, and those animals whose body temperature varies with the environmental temperature, that is, I am talking about all the cold-blooded animals. In their case, they have got a 3-chambered or 2-chambered heart, where mixing of the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood is permissible. But here, in case of birds and mammals, where the body temperature is to be maintained, as they require higher energy levels to maintain their life processes, this mixing is not permissible. So that is what happens in the heart, and in this way the blood is pumped to different parts of the body through the heart, and that way it reaches to the remotest corner through the arteries and the veins, and ultimately the capillaries are the ones which are connected to the cells and the tissues, and there the exchange of materials, that is the gases or the excretory materials or whatever is the necessity, is done. So this is all about the working of the heart, what we call the circulation of blood happening in human body. So that's all for now. Thank you.